want to do this. I really don't want to do this. Okay. Alright. Well, I wrote an obligation to myself, and now I have to fulfill it. Now it's time to call Matt. Hello everyone and welcome back to Russell's Movie Reviews, the show where I review stuff that's supposed to be pretty good and maybe one of the best movies of all time, or a film that absolutely sucks and should remain in the depths of hell. Now last week we obviously discussed The Amazing Spider-Man, released in 2012, and was a, let's just say, rocky start to the second live-action interpretation of Spider-Man, and I thought that maybe the sequel could improve upon it, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Boy, I was wrong. Really wrong. But
Damn.
before we get on to anything, you guys may notice lighting changing. Fuck, I'm wearing a different shirt. The fuck is happening here? So this is what you might call a a chance to retake, because the first time we did this was about, I would say, a day after I shot the original skit, and I was wearing the same, kind of outfit, and it went really well. Like an hour and like 24, 25 minutes, it went great. And then
Yeah.
I checked the recording file, and it was shit. It was garbled. You could barely understand what I was saying, especially what Matt was saying. You could, like, he would, like, pop in for every,
Yeah.
like, second or two, and then his audio would just be gone for the rest of the video. An hour and a half worth of footage, pretty much gone.
I
So,
know, it sucked. It sucked so much.
so yeah, we're back a day later, doing a second take of this video. Hope to fuck that the audio actually comes out good. Because then we're going to have to do a
Hopefully.
third take, and then possibly even a fourth take. I don't fucking know. And, this time I've decided I can't, I need something to kind of cool me down in certain situations when I get maybe a little bit too heated. So, you know me, I have to get a little bit of a Starbucks kick to hopefully try and calm me down a bit. But, and as usual, you guys know from the last review that we did on Spider-Man, it's the one, the only, Matt Games YT. Say hello, Matt.
Yo, what is up, guys? Yo, Russell, thank you for having me here again, and it was really great being here on the channel for the very first time doing the Amazing Spider-Man 1 review. It was really good, and I'm glad to be back in another episode.
And yet it just sucks that we're talking about this piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm going to go full out and say this. This movie ain't good. It's, okay. Yeah, it's something, alright. But we'll discuss more about that as the review goes on. So, my history with the film is that I've heard some very mixed reviews about it. Even more than the original Amazing Spider-Man. And I'm like, well, is it really that bad? So, back in 2017, I got all of the first 5 Spider-Man movies up until the release of Homecoming, and obviously, I got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 on Blu-ray. And I haven't touched it since. It's been it's been over 5 years since I got this thing. And I only recently actually put in this movie to watch it. And it shall lay dormant. Again. I'm surprised that this movie got away with a $200 million budget. And that is the most widely circulated estimated budget that I've seen. I've heard some sites even say that it was between $200 and almost $300 million. Yeah, this film does not even look like it passed over $100 million for its budget. Domestically, it made just over 200 million, and worldwide, it made over 700 million. So again, worldwide, it was successful, but domestically, it barely made its budget back, and it's obvious as to why. So, you know, before and it shocks me because this is directed by the same guy who did the last one, and I thought that that one. I mean, granted, yeah, I did say that was pretty boring, but overall, I thought it was a pretty average film. If besides the fact that it was boring, it overall it just felt like an average Spider-Man movie to me, and I feel like maybe he could have improved upon it with the second one. Yeah, that turned out not to be the case at all. But before we get on to the review itself, Matt, why don't you give your little history on the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Okay, so from my perspective on the Amazing, um, I mean, I definitely see why it's like it has really like bad moments in the film. I mean, there's a lot of stuff wrong with it. But I mean, I'm not really sure if there's any like really good things about this movie. I mean, well, I mean, I don't know, but
There
with
there are a
this movie,
couple of
it
good things which we'll
sucks.
get to, but it for
Couple,
me it
yeah,
doesn't
but
it does not save the movie for me. It really doesn't.
yeah.
But again, as I
Mhm.
said, we'll talk about that as the review goes on. And before we start, I'm gonna do a quick little cut just to make sure that the audio does not fuck up this time. So we're gonna do a quick little cut, and we shall be back to talk about the movie properly. And we're back. So Um, yeah, let's get on to the movie itself. So, the plot synopsis, if you can really call it one, is that confident in his powers as Spider Man, Peter Parker, played for the second and final time by Andrew Garfield, embraces his role as a superhero and spends time with Gwen Stacy, played again for the second and final time by Emma Stone, in between protecting New York from criminals. However, his greatest battle is about to begin. Yeah, we'll see about that one. With the emergence of Electro, played by Jamie Foxx, Peter must confront an enemy far more powerful than he is. And when his old friend Harry Osborn, played by Dan Dehan, returns, Peter comes to slowly realize that his enemies have one thing in common: Oscorp. Okay, so before we move on to going through this movie plot by point by point, we'll talk about the characters themselves and how they are, you know, or how they're played. So we have Andrew Garfield, like I said, who plays Spider-Man for the second and final time. Now, I thought that his performance in the first film was pretty good as Spider-Man. I did not buy into this Peter Parker because honestly, he looks too good looking to be a nerdy 17-year-old nerd.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, maybe at this point he's going to be developing his powers more and probably becoming a little bit more of a better person, or a little bit more kind of you know a dimensional and maybe could actually carry a film. Boy, was I wrong. It The problem that I have with Andrew's performance in this film is it it just seems like that 90% of his performance is just moping and doping around, either like looking either mad, sad, or just depressed overall. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is not who Spider-Man is. I mean, yeah, he's gonna have his bleak moments, but granted, that's everyone. He's mostly supposed to be that kind of go-lucky kind of person who's maybe, a bit, like looks over certain things. Not someone who's fucking walking around like Bruce Wayne, all depressed and shit. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I did
I can see
not
that.
like Peter in this film. But yeah, what did you think of of Andrew Garfield's second performance as Spider-Man?
Okay, now with Andrew Garfield's second performance in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, yeah, I could definitely see why you're saying that he's like moping and doping around like in the film. Like now that I see it, he's just depressed in this film. Like I just don't see that as Spider-Man really. Like I feel like Spider-Man's got to be more like like happy, funny. But I mean, with his Peter Parker though, it's just it's not even like there's no like enthusiasm to it. Like he's just mostly depressed in the, like in the film as but yeah, that's what I think about him in this film.
Yeah. So then we move on to Emma Stone, who plays Gwen Stacy for again the second and final time. Um, she's pretty good. Not, I don't. The problem with me is that she's not as good as her role in the first one because there are moments where she feels like good old Gwen Stacy, and I love that. But then there's other moments where it just seems like that she is just bitching and whining, and it's just like like this is not what the last movie set her up to be, and it's more disappointing than anything, which we'll get to more later as to why that's so disappointing. But overall, I kind of find her. I mean, she is one of the best parts about this movie, but it is kind of a mixed bag in my opinion. But what do you think about Gwen Stacy in this film?
Okay, so with Gwen Stacy, I feel like she has the best love interest out of all the I would say relationships out of all the Spider-Man movies, but yeah, I mean, well, she plays a major part during the end of the film, obviously, and we will get later on. But yeah, I mean, I think she's good. Probably like maybe like a little wasted, maybe, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um. Now we're moving on to technically our two main villains for the film. We have Jamie Foxx as Electro and Dan Dehan as this version's interpretation of Harry Osborn. So we'll start off with Electro at first. What did you think about Jamie Foxx's performance?
Um, Honestly, I think it did pretty good. I mean, it's really like interesting seeing him playing as like the geeky type kind of as like Max Dillon from him. But I think his performance as Electro is really good. And I love the soundtrack as well, like the music that he played good. And yeah, I think he could have probably had more screen time. I feel like same thing with Gwen Stacy. I feel like they were both kind of wasted. And yeah,
Okay, and yeah, I do agree. Jamie Foxx, I think he's a phenomenal actor. I really liked him in Collateral, you know, and like when he pulls off a dramatic role, I think he does really good. But at first seeing him in this like nerdy role, I'm like, could Jamie Foxx pull off this kind of character? And yeah, I was genuinely surprised that he did it surprisingly well. And I'm like, wow, I actually
yeah,
feel like I actually like feel like I know this character from like I've known him for like so many years, even though we only meet him for like 25 minutes. But yeah, it feels like that he's like an actual person that would live in this environment, and they kind of get overlooked by everyone, including the biggest person in New York at the time. So, but then yeah, once he turns into Electro, it just feels wasted. Like
yeah,
as soon as a quote unquote main villain shows up, um, they kind of just sideline him, and I'm like, this is Spider-Man 3 all over again with fucking Sandman, where it's like the potential of Electro as a main villain could have worked out great. But then you're like, no, let's have this villain because this could work out for us. And no, it didn't. Which moves us on to Dean Dehaan's interpretation of Harry Osborn. Um, Now he is a very mixed bag in my opinion. When we first get introduced to him, and like for the first few scenes that he has as regular old Harry Osborn, he's great. He's probably honestly one of the best parts about the early, like the first half of the film. Once he starts showing up in the second half, though, that's when I have my issues with him, which we'll get to as the movie goes on, because I don't want to spoil it yet. But yeah, Matt? What did you think about this universe's interpretation of Harry Osborn?
To me, with Dandahan's performance, the Goblin in this film, I feel like he's kind of mid in this film compared to like James Franco's though Harry Osborn.
Yeah,
But yeah, in this film though, I think like you said, I think he did good with like the Harry Osborn type. But once he like gets into the Goblin form, that's when things just kind of go down. Really.
yeah, and we'll get to that when it comes up.
Yeah.
And then we kind of like characters throughout, like we have Sally Field as Aunt May, which I honestly think is the best part about this film, even though she really does feel wasted. She only has like a
Yeah.
couple scenes throughout the film, but granted, in those few scenes that she has, she does fantastic. We have Campbell Scott returning as Richard Parker. Um, he kind of plays a big part about this film, but I really don't want to get into it right now because it will bring out a whole rant in me, which I don't feel like going into right now. And then we have Paul Giamatti as the Rhino. And he just again, I think out of all of the wasted potential in this film, he's the biggest one that feels wasted. And again, like most of these points that we're talking about, oh they're wasted for this and that. We're gonna talk about them as we go through this film point by point. So, just expect that. So we start off with the film. I want to say kind of in the same way as the Amazing Spider-Man, and what I mean by that is it does not feel like a Spider-Man movie when it starts off. Whereas the first film, I could kind of feel like that. Okay, this is maybe the beginning of a Spider-Man movie because I mean, yeah, it feels like a family drama, but that could work in a Spider-Man movie. That's fine. In this film, however, we start the focus on Richard Parker, doing all these science experiments and stuff like that, and then we have uh the scene basically in the original where like Peter calls out to him and he realizes that his house has been broken into. And this is something that I actually did realize um with this film, and that we didn't even talk about in the original version of this video. They actually reshot certain scenes from the first Amazing Spider-Man movie for the recap in this film, which I'm like, why? Like, I get that it's filmed like 2 years later, and the kid probably would have aged a bit, but the kid version of Peter Parker looks nothing like he did in the original Amazing Spider-Man. Like, how the fuck did you fuck up continuity that bad? Like, so that's strike one movie, and then yeah, and then as the parents leave, we get on this fighter jet or not fighter jet, this private plane. And then it turns into this fucking spy movie, and I'm like, this does not at all feel like Spider-Man. At all. And I'm just like, am I, am I, did I put the right movie in? Like, I'm checking all over the box here. I'm like, where does it mention spy shit in this movie? Because I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere on the box. But the big thing that is taken basically you take away from the scene is that Peter's father it transfers some information to something called Roosevelt, which becomes a big plot thing later on. Then we cut to present time, or 2014 time, whatever, and we get introduced to Spider-Man and his new suit. Now, remember how I said that in the in the Amazing Spider-Man, if I like that suit, it felt like a good like modern version of Toby's suit. I mean, yeah, the yellow visors could be a little but most of the time it's hidden in the shadows and doesn't really show the yellow like visors that much, and it mostly appears black. So I'm like, I can easily just avoid it and ignore it. With this film, however, they just said, "Fuck continuity." He has a new suit, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. I get that they were trying to go for they were trying to lean more towards the comic books in terms of in terms of the suit, but it does not gel with me at all. My only guess as to why they changed the suit is because they did not want the suit to look too similar to the Raimi films, uh, the Toby suit. So they were like, okay, well, shit, we have to think of something fast. Just take the ones from the comic and just fucking make a suit out of it, and then boom, there's your new suit. And I'm um, like the thing with me was that like I didn't really care for it, but then I'm like, well then why don't they give like some sort of explanation as to why he got the new suit? But they never gave any sort of explanation for it. He just has a new suit out of nowhere, and it's just like passed off as like, oh yeah, it's a thing. I'm like, whatever. But what did you think about the second version of Andrew's Spider-Man suit?
Okay, so with the suit, I actually like the suit. I know that you don't really like it, Russell, I feel like, but I think the suit is like good, but I do understand that like them change like weird like just out of like the blue, but I mean I feel like they could have like did a scene where like Andrew like kind of should have just like maybe like fix the suit or like maybe change the suit in a scene. I feel like that would be good. But I do like the suit though. Because I mean I've heard a lot of people say that they love the suit. But I mean me personally though, like I mean it is obviously Toby's suit because I mean I love like the Raimi suit. It's really good. But I mean yeah, but I think Andrew's suit is alright. I like it. It's good.
Okay, so yeah, so whatever, we can pass over it. Um, so then we then cut to a criminal called the Rhino, who is driving this armored truck filled with plutonium as his goons are trying to steal it. Spider-Man gets this police call, uh, and goes to stop them. And I immediately realized, the first 5-10 minutes that I'm in for a ride when I immediately noticed Andrew's Spider-Man is not good when he makes when he purposely, or I should say purposely, he gets at least 4 to 5 people killed in this sequence. He first gets people killed in the taxis in one shot after he's talked to Ryan in the truck, and then as they're going down the oh no no and then he saves Max from a flying taxi that lands on the roof, or lands on its roof. Spider-Man doesn't even check on the fucker. He just starts talking to Max and then goes like, "Oh yeah, the Rhino, here I come." And then as they're going down the alleyway, they Rhino crushes 2 people with a fucking garbage can. And I'm like, dude, it's like Spider-Man, you brace your body count up to 5 now. Like, how do you manage this? Um, but I mean, he does what he does, man. I can't do it. And then we get to the biggest thing about the sequence that pisses me off. And so, as Spider-Man's trying to deal with all this plutonium and whatever, he gets a call from Gwen, and it's graduation. And she's trying to figure out where the hell he is, because he's obviously not there. He's trying to stop this guy, and he's trying to cover it up. His Spidey sense tingles, and he looks over to this police car, and fucking Dennis Leary is sitting in the passenger seat. Why the fuck is he getting? Why is he seeing like illusions of the dead captain from the last movie? Like, why? and it would come up as a plot point later, but it's one of the stupidest things in the entire fucking movie. It's like in Spider-Man 3, if like Tobey Maguire's Peter was like walking around and he would cut over and look, and then he just saw Uncle Ben sitting there at like a park bench, and he's like, "The fuck?" Like, no, you don't do that. That's no, like, and yeah, we'll get to the
Yeah.
plot point later, but
Yeah, I could. Yeah, but I could actually like see that because like with I think it's Spider-Man 2 in one scene, like I see where I think in the scene where like Peter's like on the bed just like staring into the camera and then it just goes to the Peter and Uncle Ben scene like when they're in his car, that like him talking to him,
but I I
but
I,
like
I
I
can see
don't.
that's more like a dream, and I can understand that more.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
this Spider-Man legit looks over like in real time and sees Dennis Leary in the fucking truck. Like, huh? That bitch is dead. Like, how can you see him? And he's like, oh, what? And then he looks over and it's a completely different guy. Like he's seeing illusions of the captain, like from the last movie. I'm like, that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. So like I get where you're coming from with the Spider-Man 2 reference, but again, that just seems more like a dream that he had.
Yeah, yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Like
like,
that makes
like I
sense.
could see that.
But like but that's not it though with this movie. It's more just like, oh yeah, he's just seeing Dennis Leary all over the fucking place. And it's just like he's
Yeah,
so dumb. But yeah, no, he stops the Rhino. He goes to graduation, and he's like, "Oh, we're done with high school, woo!" And then he fucking looks over, and there's this police officer. It's the fucking captain again. And I'm just like, I want to punch my monitor so bad when I saw that. I'm just like, fuck. And then he fucking goes away, and then you know, they're doing the whole, like, oh, I don't know what we're gonna do after, high school now. What shall we ever do? And then, we, uh, yeah, Gwen's just like, oh, you make sure you're coming over to, my family's, dinner thing for graduation. And he's like, oh, okay. It cuts to that scene, and Peter walks up to the restaurant. He sees them in there, and he's just like, I'm not dealing with this. So Gwen obviously notices, and she walks out. And they start having a conversation, and basically, Peter's just like, I made I made a promise to your father that I would keep away from you to save, to keep you safe. And now, I'm about to have dinner with your family. Like, what kind of person does that make me? I'm like, are you are you seriously going back on the ending of the last movie which was so good, that had potential? And then you just fucked in the ass and just said, yep, nope, we're not dealing with that anymore. Bye bye. So now Peter's having some mopey dopey shit because he thinks that, he's not who he says he is. And now he can't hang out with Gwen anymore because he made this promise and now he's broken it. And so Gwen rightfully goes, all right, that's it. We're done. I break up with you. And she goes back to the restaurant. I'm like, this is Spider-Man 3 all over again with fucking Peter and MJ. I'm not having this bullshit. And trust me,
yeah,
it's a plot point, just like Spider-Man 3. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so dumb. And then we cover to Max, who it's his birthday today, and he starts. Okay, this is one thing that actually full out made me laugh, like actual laughter, when I watched the movie. So he has like this weird ass complex with himself that he thinks that Spider-Man is his best friend just because when he saved him, Spider-Man told him, "You're my eyes and ears." So now he's like, "I'm obsessed with him. He's like my best friend." So now he has. I mean, granted, I feel like he was a fan of him before, but now he's like obsessed. So he fucking starts shaving, and he goes, "Oh, hey, Spidey, how's it doing?" Because he obviously has a big ass picture of him right there. And the thing that fucking made me laugh so hard is that when he starts talking as Spider-Man, he puts on this like Dark Knight voice for him. He's like, I like it a lot, Max. Like, huh? That's not that's not Spider-Man, bro. That's like Batman. That's like Deadpool. Like, what? And then this is like an ongoing thing throughout the scene where like he pulls out this like cake and he's like, "Do you like it, Spidey?" And he's like, "I like it a lot, Max." I'm like, "The fuck am I even listening to? Am I watching like Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 2 the porno? Like, huh? What the fuck?" So yeah, no, he goes to work and everyone's kind of just blowing his birthday off, like whatever. It's just a normal day at work, blah 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 blah, because everyone just doesn't give a shit about Max. And he gets called to go and fix some electrical work, like some electrical things that bugging out underneath Oscorp. So he goes in, checks it out, and you know starts checking it out. And I do like the part when he calls in on the radio. He's like, "All right, Jack, can you cut down can you shut down the electricity for this one section? I need to work on this." He's like, "Sorry, man, I'm clocking out." He's like, "Wait, what? Like, what you mean you're clocking out?" It's like, "Everyone's leaving and it's time for me to go. Sorry, man." And he just fucking hangs up. He's like, "Son of a bitch." And then he's getting on the railing and shit, and then he's like singing to himself, like "Happy birthday to Max." And then I do like the part when he has like the wires and he finally gets it together, and you're expecting like the big shit, like him getting electrocuted. And he's like, "Oh, I guess I am alright." And then he puts it in, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." And then he falls into the vat of eels, which was, set up like 2 minutes before, saying like, "Oh, these are like these deadly eels." And we he falls and as he's getting electrocuted with these two wires and getting bitten the fuck out of by these electric eels, he cut to a shot. But they established that he has like this nerdy kind of persona, so he has like these like separated teeth. So as he's getting electrocuted and getting bitten by all these electric eels, it cuts to a shot of his mouth, and it fixes all the electricity that's going on inside him. It closes up the gap in between his teeth. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I learned today that electricity and electric eels fix your teeth. Good to know. Oh wait, no, that's bullshit. So I lost it on that one. But then, the fucking tank explodes and Max is presumed dead. Um, and then obviously at this point, that we get introduced to Harry Osborn. I think they established that he just got back from like a Europe, like a trip to Europe or some shit, and um, he's come back and he's going to check on his father who is dying, and Norman Osborn has like this one scene and he fucking just dies. But then he passes on this like little like Oscorp kind of like chip thing. And he goes like, and he kind of plants the subtle hints. I was like, "Oh yeah, the same thing that killed me is now going to kill you." And I'm like, really? Like fucking plot thread number 3 now? Well, actually, no, number 4 technically. So yay, more fucking plot threads, because this movie totally needs more. So, after that, obviously, Max gets electrocuted and is presumed dead. And then we got to this boardroom scene with Harry and like the rest of the main people at Oscorp, and he's just explaining, like, "Oh well, all this genetic shit that happened with Dr. Kirk Connors cannot get out, because if it does, the public will get scared of us, and financiers will pull back the funding, and don't want to support us anymore. And then Harry gets notified that there's a guest waiting for him. So he goes down and they meet Peter. And he's like, well, I'm sorry to hear about your father. I know exactly what you're going through right now. So I just come here to pay my condolences, and I just want to say I'm sorry. And after Harry kind of pulls up this like kind of like sad, kind of like, oh, sad me. And then they start talking and shit. And then it's like, okay, establishing the friendship, like kind of like brotherly bond between the two, like the Raimi films.
Yeah,
But it's only one scene, and I'm just like, you know,
that's it.
just flesh it out
That's
more
it.
a bit. You know, you like maybe set up like you should like set it up in like the first one, saying like, oh yeah, Peter had this friend when he was a child, but then he moved to Europe for a while, and he hasn't seen him since. So he's kind of just feeling a bit, sad. They have no friends, and then maybe kind of build up upon that in the sequel. But they never do that. They just have this one scene where they're kind of like walking around and talking about, oh, I met this one girl, and I met all these models in France and England, and they were like super hot, blah 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 blah. And then Peter's like, yeah, I had one girlfriend, and we're kind of it's complicated and shit. And then uh, it gets revealed that Harry's being spied upon, and the Oscorp guys are like, yeah, so apparently this Max guy got killed in this electrical tank. This information cannot get out. And they're like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, it's obviously gonna go fucking get out at some point. Um, and then I'm trying to remember the sequence of things. Um, and then I think at this point, um, I think Electro escapes from his from the morgue. 'Cause, again, everyone presumes he's dead, and he's like, all right, I gotta find some electricity. So he thinks that so yeah, no, that happens, and then I think Peter gets a call or like a text from Gwen saying like, oh, I'm kind of sorry about what I said earlier. Maybe we should try and rebuild this friendship. So they meet up at this place, and they're starting to hit it off. Maybe building up this friendship, a little bit. And then after Electro escapes from the morgue, it cuts to this one scene that it made me cringe when I watched it. It's when they're both eating ice cream and they're talking about whatever, and Gwen mentions that that she really likes this Chinese place that opened up, and she's been going there like a lot. And Peter goes like, oh yeah, you talk about it all the time, like how much you love it. And she goes like, what? And she like, the place? And he's like, yeah. It opened up like a year ago, and you always said it was like amazing. And she was like, it only opened like a month ago. And then she goes like, have you been spying on me? And it's that fucking look that Peter gives as he leans up against the tree, and it's just like, I'm getting predator vibes. I don't like this. And she's like, you have been spying on me. And she's like, how long? Like how much? And he goes like, once a day. I'm like, and you just fucking confirmed it. Like, you're not setting up a good image of yourself. Like, I thought the emo Peter from 3 was bad. This is like 10 times worse. Um, but yeah, and then they start joking about. I'm like, why the fuck are you joking about this, man? It's like not okay. And then, Peter's Spidey sense starts tingling as we cut over to Electro in Times Square, and he pulls open this this metal grate, and he starts consuming the electricity from it. And of course, there has to be one fucking police officer sitting there and say, "Hey, step away from the from the power grid thing." And he's just like, okay." And he's like, "I'm not," because technically, I don't know. I'm gonna get to this in a little bit. So he's like, "Okay, okay," and then The cop's like, all right, I need because I think he's like I think he goes like this, like he like puts his hands out and then like it like shoots off like some like electricity. And shit. It's like, all right, I need like I need like all backup. I need all backup at Times Square. And he's like, what? I didn't like that was not me. Like I did not do this. And then like 5 or 6 squad cars show up and they're like, put your hands up. And he's like, I didn't do anything. Like I'm like I don't know what you're talking about because realistically. Yeah, he's right. Like besides consuming the electricity, which he kind of needed to survive at this point, he was just walking around Times Square minding his own business, and then yeah, he opens up the grate and he starts consuming the electricity, and then so yeah, he's just confused, and he's like, I didn't do anything. Like I didn't do anything wrong, and like fire, and he's like bam, 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 with like stock sound effects that
Yeah.
I could have easily look up on like some like random sound effects page and download a whole bunch of sound effects that they use in this fucking movie. Um, yeah, they start shooting him, and he's like, "Fucking stop, please! I didn't do anything." And I'm like, I mean, yeah, he tended, like I said, besides consuming the electricity, he didn't do anything wrong. So they're just shooting at him for no fucking reason because he looks blue and he's glowing a bit. So like, fucking shoot him, shoot the bastard. So they fucking start shooting him. He's like deflecting all of it because it's the electricity that's stopping it. And they're like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck?" So then Spider-Man shows up and he's like, "All right, guys, stop shooting, stop shooting." And so he starts trying to talk to him. And Electro kind of reminds him like I'm Max, and he goes like you're the guy that I'm the guy that you saved from the taxi that flew over our heads. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember that. What was your name? What was your name? He's like Max. He's like Max, right? Yes. I. What did I tell you? He's like, oh yeah, you're my eyes and ears. I get that. All right.
Yeah.
And he's like starts talking to the cops, saying like, all right, this is my buddy Max. No one hurt him. And then he starts like
And
getting
then of course.
so they start fucking shooting him like again. And then he's like, all right, that's it, boom. And he's like, all right. Spider's like, oh fuck, and he just starts just swinging backwards, and one of his web shooters goes out, and so he's like, I did not mean to do that. Like you're like these people were shooting at me, and he's like, I don't want to hurt you. Just calm down, and everything will be fine. And Electro being confused and shit, he starts attacking and shit. Um, and then Spider-Man, they both get defeated, and then he kind of consumes all this electricity from this billboard and starts like shooting electricity from his hands. He's like as he's gliding or like floating
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and then as the
And then
police
the
officer,
music plays.
yeah, and then like as the police officers are just like like, oh, what the fuck are we gonna do? You just see this water just fucking hit him, and he just hits the ground, and I'm like, okay, admittedly, seeing Spider-Man with a fireman hat on, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah.
But shouldn't water not really have like an immediate effect on electricity? I know it has an effect long term, but not like instantaneously. Fucking Pokemon taught this shit to me. And this was like a 1998 video game. And this movie came out 2014. How the fuck did you screw that up? But, yep, Electro gets defeated by water because I guess that's his weakness now is fucking water. I don't fucking know. Um, and then yeah, they capture him. And then I mean, I'm honestly losing track of like what majorly happened in the middle of the film because honestly, I only remember the beginning and then like the end, and then like everything else is just blank. Like I only remember like a couple things throughout, including the father subplot, which goes like it almost becomes like the whole like the main plot for like a good chunk of the movie, except like it's not really necessary. Where like he after excuse me after a really good scene actually between Peter and Aunt May where she's like I don't know how to make ends meet, trying to take classes and and like I don't know how to do this without Ben, and she's like it's a really good scene. And then as he's trying to figure out what happened to his father, um he slowly figures out that Roosevelt wasn't obviously a person that he sent the files to. It was like an actual location. So as he's scourging around, um, he finds this underground subway tunnel that in this calculator that he finds in his dad's bag, which was established in the last movie. He finds these like really weird like coin things, and he goes down into the subway thing and uses one of them, and he's like, "Well, what the fuck is this?" And he turns around, and there's a fucking abandoned subway train that Richard Parker converted into a secret laboratory. Like, when the fuck did he have this built? Assumingly, and we'll get to this, he must have built it during the time that he was working with Norman Osborn. Because yes, in this continuity, both Richard Parker and Norman Osborn worked together on this like human serum that basically I think it's like mixed with like human blood and like spider DNA. And if you inject this into someone and they die, they basically the idea is that they slowly regenerate and kind of come back to life. So that's the intention, at least, of the serum. And obviously, they did not go to human trials. Something happened between the two, which caused Richard to leave and leave Peter with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. And you know, uh, Peter figures this out through Harry because on the chip or this thing that Harry gets from his dad that's labeled with Oscorp, it's basically all the files on these human genetics projects, or like these human these human tested projects where it's like like the human serum, and then like the electro stuff, and uh, he gets this and it shows up to Peter, basically saying that you know like both of our dads work together on this thing. So realistically speaking, Spider-Man has this serum in his blood. So I'm dying. So if you could talk to Spider-Man, because I saw that you took one picture of him, um, if you can talk to him and ask him to give me his blood, then I could theoretically live forever. And Peter obviously initially is just like, well, no, like the Spider-Man's blood could be incompatible with yours, and you could die. And Harry's like, well, what do you mean? I'm already fucking dying here. So he's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And as this is happening, Gwen is trying to figure out information on Max, because at this point they both have seen Electro slash Max in Times Square. So they're like, okay, something must have happened to him, but we don't know what. So they go, they figure out things about him individually, and Gwen is trying to figure out what happened to him. And as she's trying to look it up, her access gets cut off because obviously, those boardroom meeting guys said, no one needs to learn about this. So once they see her trying to figure this out, and she's like, all right, nope, access denied, fucking find her. So they find her, and they start chasing her down, and then, the two rendezvous with each other, and basically giving out information to each other about, Electro and Harry. As, I almost said, Emma J. As Gwen leaves, she comes across, Harry, and they have this brief little conversation. And after that, Harry gets a visit from Spider-Man. Woohoo! But Spider-Man, Peter, whatever, Spider-Man, basically tells Harry, I can't give you my blood. It could be harmful to you and could possibly kill you. So I can't give it to you. And he's like, well, I'm already dying, so how could they kill me more? And then he's like, all right, how much do you want? And he basically tries to say, he's trying to bribe him with money for it. And he's just like, no, I don't want money or anything. Even though in an earlier scene with Aunt May that I just talked about, she explains how she can't really make the money for Peter to go to college. So I'm like, why couldn't you just donate his blood to Harry just to have the money to go to college? And realistically, this whole thing with Harry wouldn't have never happened. I mean, yeah, he probably would have been killed, and then Spider-Man would have been probably framed for Harry's death. But granted, it probably would have been a lot better than what the fuck happened in this movie. Like actually, um, but yeah. So, um, as you know, starting to figure out more and more about this, or what this blood can do. Some boardroom officials come in and basically say, "Oh yeah, you leaked this human trial shit out to the public. Your ass is fired." And I'm like, "Huh? As far as I know, your lower officers can't fire the fucking boss of a company. The boss either has to like leave or like resign, which I think is pretty much actually the same thing. Point is, the lower ranking officers can't fire your boss. So realistically, Harry should have been like, nah, bitch, you're fired, get the fuck out. But of course, yeah, he gets fired, and at this point, Electro has been taken, prisoner after, the Times Square fight, and gets put into, and gets incarcerated in this maximum security prison. And gets treated by this very weird doctor who plays fucking Mozart as he's entering the room, which I'm like, it's a very weird entrance for a doctor if I've ever seen any in a movie. I know that in the original version of
Yeah.
this video, Matt kind of had a problem with this doctor guy. So you wanna explain your thing with him?
Okay, yeah, so I fucking hated this doctor, dude. Like everything yeah, like everything about him, dude, it just gave me some like freaking pedo vibes,
Yeah, no,
bro.
no, I
Like
can see that. I can see that. It's just like that Russian,
yeah.
either Russian or Swedish accent too. He's like, I'm going to study you, and I will enjoy every single minute of it. And he's like, what the fuck am I even watching?
I know. That was just like that was such a weird like vibe. Like just gave me like as soon as I was watching that scene, but yeah, I freaking hated that doctor, bro.
Well, luckily he only has like 2 scenes throughout the movie, and then he's just
Thank
out of the
God.
picture. Like you don't even know if he makes it. No. Okay, we'll get to that. But yeah, he gets fired, and then he's like, you know what? I hate Spider-Man, and I think this blue guy who has electricity power thingy, he hates Spider-Man. I'm gonna go and break him out. So he does. He goes up and he like tasers a couple of guards. He sneaks his way into the base, and then this is the part where, as both me and Matt mentioned earlier about this version of Harry, this is the
Oh
point
yeah.
in the film where he kind of goes into like over the top kooky, where it's like very bad because he enters this fucking room with Electroid as he's like strapped down to basically to this fucking bed. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna break you out, and I want you to kill Spider-Man, but you have to help me first by breaking into Oscorp. And he's like, Electro obviously goes, well, why should I help you? Why shouldn't I just kill you? And he's like, all right, you hate Spider-Man, I hate Spider-Man. How about we kill him together? And the fucking scene, the moment that gets me every time, and it's every single time I see it, it's him like talking to me. He's like, Spider-Man will come to you, and I want you to make him bleed. I'm like, the fuck? Did he just turn into a vampire? Like, what the shit was that? And then obviously the alarm goes off, and as guards are rushing in, he pulls out his taser and he shocks them a little bit more to kind of give him that energy to be like, all right, I'm invincible, bitch. So he fucking disappears, and he's like, and he like basically murders all the guards and stuns this doctor guy. As like Harry's like, what the fuck happened? And I will admit, when Electro kind of reforms a bit, it's kind of hard at first. I thought he was straight up naked when he shows up, like when he's reformed, because it doesn't show anything. It just shows him like
Yeah,
freeform, like bro,
yeah.
he's about to be fucking naked. And I'm like, oh, thank God he wears shorts. Okay, thank God. I'm like, this bro, this would have gone like straight up R rated if they just had nothing. But then yeah, like
Yeah.
the doctor guy gets up and he's like, what the fuck? I'm getting out of here. And the lecturer's like, nah, bitch. And he's like,
And then
I'm
no.
getting floating. And he's like, all right, strap your ass in here and just tie you up and fucking drown your ass. And yeah, that's how he is. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's out of the film after that moment. And we don't know if he died or not. I kind of wish he did. And I kind of, just imagine that in my mind. He just drowned to death. And like no one let him up because all the guys were fucking dead. So yeah, they were like, all right, now it's time to go our way over to Oscorp. So the security guy runs up and he's like, all right, guy, sir, we have a problem. There's kind of like a breach that's going on, and like, it's a character that we were building up a bit. The guy's like the main security guard, and the guy's like, wait me, and he just gets like a lightning spear for his fucking heart. He's like, I'm like, that's what you get, bitch. And Harry's just like, oh, yeah, so remember how you fired me like a little bit ago and I leaked this information out? Well, roles reverse, bitch, and now you are legit gonna be my bitch now. And the guy's like trying to like, well, how can you talk to me like this? And like, just like, all right, I don't know if this shit. And he's like, I'm like, the fuck, dude? Why the fuck would you talk back to a person that's made of electricity? Like, the fuck is your problem? And then he just steals the gun off him. He's like, all right, wake his ass up. And he's just like, okay, what the fuck? He's like, all right, you are gonna take me over to the electrics thing right now, and you're gonna give me the spider venom, or the spider serum. And Electro, just go for that grate down there, and you'll be right to the power grid, and you should be good. And then yeah, Electro is just gone for like 10 minutes. So yeah, as uh, you know, Harry goes down to the genetics room kind of thing, and gets this injection, which I thought was stupid as fuck. That he's like, all right, like the get it in the arm that he's holding the fucking gun with, because as soon as he his like hand loses grip of the gun, the guy could just go like, all right, got the gun, bitch. Who's in control now, huh? So yeah, stupid decision, but I mean, grandly, the guy just doesn't capitalize on this, and then like as Harry is like convulsing in pain due to the spider venom like not reacting well to his blood, the guy's like, all right, fuck this shit, I'm out of this movie. Goes up in the elevator, and then like I said, or like the doctor guy earlier, he's just gone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we get these transformation shots of him because like oh this hurts, and like you see like his like ribs contorting, his spine is like like slowly like putting out of his back. You see his like eyes turn like neon green, and then you see the glider, and you're like, oh shit, Harry's actually like fully gonna become Green Goblin. Like this is gonna be interesting, because even like in
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, I mean yeah he had like the toxins inside of him, but he never like went
Yeah.
like actually like full out Green Goblin. So okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes. Um, spoiler, it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then before the big climax of the movie, um, we have this little scene where after Peter has discovered this abandoned train, he gets a call from MJ, from MJ Gwen, and uh, she's just like, oh, I got accepted into Oxford, because that was a whole other subplot in the where she was like, oh yeah, I got offered this position at Oxford University, but I'm gonna go all the way to England, and it's gonna be great. And Peter's like, oh yay, great. And then she's like, she goes to do this test, and Peter obviously catches up with her, and they do this quick little banter thing. And like I said, after he goes and finds this abandoned train where his father worked, he gets a call from, and she's like, yes, I got accepted. They're doing like a little training course thing in England, but yeah, I'm I'm on my way over to the airport right now, and sorry this had to happen, but our relationship will continue on. And Peter's like, uh, no, bitch, you're staying here. So he goes all the way to the other bridge that she's on, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's Spider-Man! And she gets out of the taxi, and he just writes, I love you in web on the other fucking bridge. You can see it. I'm like, what? Like, really? It's like my okay, and then Spider-Man just like, oh yep, you're coming with me, and then they have like a whole relationship thing where it's like, you know what? No, I'm going to England with you, and we're gonna have this whole relationship thing. It's gonna be amazing. And then all the power goes out in New York City, and there's this blue glow at the power thing, and so you immediately know it's final boss time. Round
Yep.
one. So he heads over to. Oh, actually, no, because before then, you have this quick little scene where they're like, like my web shooter shorted out the first time I met him, so I don't know how I'm gonna be able to fight him, and I did all this stuff like the bigger battery, and it did not work out. And she's like, well, did you like, try magnetizing it? And he's like, yeah, no. And she's like, well, let's fucking go and do this. So they go over to this police car and it's like, all right, we need jumper wires and a few copper wires. And they're like, okay. And so they do this test and like, all right, and then they test it out. Yay, his fucking web shooters are magnetized. That's like your fucking power up in Legend of Zelda. You just fucking get this shit. There you go. Final boss time. Here we go. But before then, they have this quick little banter and, this scene pissed me off. Where they're like, Peter's like, all right, I'm gonna go. You go, try and get some people to safety. And she's like, no, I'm coming with you. And like, no, you're staying here. And she's like, no, I'm coming with you. And he's like, oh, okay. You mind closing up the hood of the police car? Oh, sorry. Well, I have to go and deal with this. And then she's like, what the? And then she screams out, Peter. And then she's like, oh, I'm like,
And like in front of
you
everyone.
fucking bitch. I'm like, I liked you, and then you did that, and you just fucking killed it. You killed it. Why? And then I'm like, So yeah, final boss time, round one, Spider-Man versus Electro. It's okay. I'll be honest. It's a pretty okay fight
Yeah.
scene. It could have been better, but it honestly could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, like with that fight scene though, I did like the visuals and like the visuals look really good at like in that fight, like those smoke scenes kind of
Yeah,
as like they're fighting.
yeah, no, I like that, but like overall, it was just pretty mid.
Yeah.
And then Gwen shows up, and he's like, "All right, you need to, we're gonna I'm gonna fight him. He's gonna electrocute me, and I'm gonna hook myself with the webs over to these a couple power supply, like these big ass power bank things, and you're gonna, cut down the power, and then put a like or no, because the power cycle already shut down, so you're gonna activate the backup generators. So basically, it kind of like reverses the charge on him, and then he explodes, and that's what happens. She goes, activates the backup generators, and yeah, it basically it reverses the pulse on Electrode, and he fucking explodes. So like, yay, the movie's over. Oh wait, no, there's still like 20 minutes of the movie left.
Oh wait.
Fuck. So they're all like,
Yeah.
yay, happy movie moment. And then you hear the glider, and you hear a certain laugh, and
No.
we get introduced to Harry's Green Goblin, and you want to talk about this? Because if I talk anything about this, it's going to give me a massive fucking headache. But, yeah, you want to talk about Green Goblin?
Oh my god, dude. As soon as I saw like him, dude, like Harry's Green Goblin in this movie. Oh my god, dude. Like just everything about it, dude. I think Russell said that bro, like he legit looks like a demonic elf.
Yep.
Like he looks ugly as fuck, dude.
Yeah,
Like it is crazy.
Yeah, I'm about to pull up the image right now. But yeah.
Yeah, but
pretty fucking shit.
Yeah, it's like horrible. And if any of you people, Han's Green Goblin is way better than James Franco's Green Goblin. Something is wrong with you. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah,
Like I don't know what is wrong with you if you're saying Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin is so much better than James Franco's Green Goblin, dude.
yeah.
I
You're
don't
saying
know
that
what is
this
wrong
is
with you.
way
Like,
better.
how can you like that?
Yeah,
How can you like that
you're
shit?
you're basically saying that
How?
this demonic elf looking motherfucker is better than James Franco and Willem Dafoe combined. You're fucking high, bro. This no, and the fucking
Like, come
the
on.
voice even. It's just
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
hi
like the
Peter.
voice.
I'm like, bro, pedo. You're a fucking
Hi,
pedo.
Peter.
Like what the fuck, bro? It legit sounds like if you mix the leprechaun, like the murder leprechaun, mixed with like um, fuck, I'm trying. Okay, it mixed the leprechaun, like the murder leprechaun, with Waluigi. That it should not be a thing, and yet it is with this fucking thing. And okay, the design overall, it's like his hair is like all like slicked back and like raised, so it literally looks like he's like a lightning
Yeah.
bolt. He has green fucking teeth, and then like he has like elf ears, and which makes me think, yeah, he just looks like he's basically just a demonic elf. And then he gets the reveal to himself. He looks over and he sees Gwen, he's like, Peter, and then he's like, you're like, you did this to me, and now I will make you suffer. And he's like, wee, I'm gonna grab Gwen and I'm gonna fucking fly around. And Peter chases him, and he's like, they reach to this clock tower, and he's like, Harry, this has nothing to do with her. It's just between me and you, so let her go. And she's like, okay, and just fucking drops her. Uh, Peter
Yeah.
manages to grab her. They crash through the glass, and he's like, "Oh, you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "All right, you get out." And then of course, fucking Green Goblin shows up for fucking round two, bitch. And
Yeah.
they start fight. They have this pretty fucking short battle, admittedly, in the fucking in
Yeah.
the clock tower.
It's not even like a minute.
Yeah, no, it's not even 5 minutes at that rate. But yeah, basically he made basically Green Goblin causes something to happen, which causes Gwen to fall. Peter manages to catch her with the web, but then Harry pins him down to the gear. So he has like to hold her like this, and then like try and like move, like trying to make sure like Harry has to stab him with his dagger, and then like have his like fucking foot like this on like one of the gears so that it doesn't crush his hand. Like what the fuck is this? What is this? And you know, basically because he technically did stop the gears, and fucking like he manages to kick Green Goblin away, knock him out apparently. Which I'm like, first time watch, like
Yeah.
obviously since this was my first time watching, I'm like, is he knocked out or is he dead? Because that looked like nothing. But yeah, Green Goblin is just, let's just say, out for at this point, and Gwen falls. And if you guys have seen Amazing Spider-Man 2, you know where we're about to go with this. And if you guys haven't seen it,
Yeah.
spoilers. I mean, granted, you saw the title card already, so it should be pretty fucking obvious. But you know, if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it, or just don't care, as Gwen falls, Peter shoots his web, and I don't know if you met. I told you this last time, Matt, that as the web is going out, it kind of forms into a hand as it's like
Yeah, it's
reaching
like
out.
a hand.
But he technically does grab her, but she hits the floor,
Too late.
and she she dies in Peter's arms, and that's it for Gwen Stacy. The object like
Yep.
arguably the best character in both Amazing Spider-Man movies is dead, and it it sucks that the best character died in such a piss poor fashion, and I actually probably would have felt an emotion, like I would have like felt like sad for it if I actually gave a shit at this point in the movie. It's like 2 hours into the movie, and it was just filled with shit that I'm just like, can I can this movie just fucking end, please, for the love of Christ? So I didn't even feel anything when this happened, but obviously now looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, it is a pretty sad moment. And admittedly, even though I don't like Andrew's performance overall in this film, he fucking sells this scene of him just
Yeah.
broken and him just fucking bawling his eyes out over the fact that his fucking girlfriend that he just got back is dead. And besides Aunt May, he has nobody now. Harry is now. He hates Spider Man. His girlfriend is dead. His um um his uncle died a few years before, and his parents have died as well. We'll get to that. But yeah, basically at this point he only has Aunt May, and I'm like, that that works. Um, but yeah. So we're 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 gonna talk about the big. We technically already talked about the big thing, but we're gonna move on to the ending now. And this film technically has two different endings. We have the theatrical cut ending, and we have the alternative ending that was deleted from the final film, but you can find on like all the Blu-rays and DVDs and shit. So in the theatrical cut, we cut to Gwen's funeral. Everyone's sad, and Peter is left as like the only one watching over her grave. And it cuts to like from like the initial funeral to like him in like fall time, and then him in winter. Um, and then we cut to a different scene completely. Uh, in the alternative ending, though, we linger a little bit more on the snow scene or the snow shots where it's him looking over Gwen's grave as it's snowing, and you get the shot of like the side of his face, and it pans to like the front of him, and you see this figure behind him with a gray hair and a gray beard, and he kind of it's not Spidey sense, but he senses that obviously someone is behind him, and he turns around and he sees him, and basically he's like, "Well, who are you?" And he goes, "Like, really? You don't recognize me? I'm your dad." Peter's father is alive. How the fuck? Because we didn't establish as much when we went over the intro, like the actual like intro to the film. In that like James Bond plane fight shit, the engine was blown out, and the guy shot the pilots. So they were nosediving at that point. And you're telling me that Peter's father somehow survived the plane crash and then never tried to talk to Peter or even tried to text him or send him like a letter or anything? Like, you just never
Yeah.
decided to talk to him, and only now, after he thinks he lost pretty much everything and only had one person in his life, you fucking show up now, you fucking asshole. And admittedly, even though the setup to it or the setup to it is stupid, it has besides the death of Gwen, it has Andrew's best acting in the entire movie, where he's confused,
Yeah.
he's emotional, and he's like and like his dad's trying to talk, and he's like, say what you want to say,
So what do you want to
and I'm
say?
like, bro, like why wasn't that scene in the film? And then I'm like,
Exactly.
and I'm like,
Like it's always the freaking like deleted scenes.
and I'm like, but it comes back to, I think it's just because in terms of the plot, it made no fucking sense at all. Like, how the fuck did how did Peter's father
Yeah.
survive the plane crash? Like, realistic, if the mother, I get that the mother got shot and then was sitting in the chair as it was nosediving, but like, you know, it would have crashed, right? And that probably would have led to Peter's father dying. So how the fuck did he survive it? And that could go on for like another whole hour or two. But yeah, I find it pretty stupid. Not as stupid as the regular ending though that we got. So we cut
Yeah.
to 5 months later. I think at this point, I don't know. I think if they mention that crime has kind of not really exploded, but it's kind of increased since Spider-Man's disappearance. And we cut over to to the same kind of asylum that Electro was held in, and we see Harry, who looks a bit better than when we saw him as Green Goblin, and this guy in a cloak and a top hat shows up and starts talking to him, and how there's so many other guys like would like to talk to him and stuff like that. Um, and and he mentions the Rhino, and as he's talking about this, we get this one shot of him, of this cloaked guy in the neck of an Oscorp that we saw earlier. Um, and he's walking by, and we see the glider that Green Goblin used. We also see some like tentacles, some like robot tentacles, very similar to Doc Ock, with like Doc Ock's tentacles. And then I think you even mentioned that there was like I think like a spear or something in there as well, or something along those lines.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see a mechanical rhino suit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and the vulture wings as well, right?
Oh yeah, that's what it was, the vulture wings. But yeah,
Yeah.
we see this mechanical rhino suit as Harry mentions, like, all right, get the rhino, like the criminal rhino. And we cut to this the rhino in the mechanical suit, walking down one of the streets in Manhattan, and I think he robbed a bank, because I think in the shot that's him leaving the building, you see like money, like dollar bills flying around. So like, oh, he must have robbed a bank. And um, there's like there's cops there trying to shoot him, and it's obviously metal, so it's fucking just deflecting off. And he has like, these two like wrist guns. He's like, da, 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 da. And everyone's like, oh my god, this is such mayhem. And then there's this one kid who's wearing a Spider-Man costume, and he's like, you know what? If Spider-Man ain't gonna do anything, I'm gonna do something. I mean, obviously he doesn't say it, but he's basically like that. So he goes under the rail, and he's like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go and do the hero thing. And the model's like, Joe, no. And I'm like, wait, bring it back a bit. In the montage scene that we saw way earlier in the movie, we see this kid, right? And Spider-Man saves him from bullies. What was his name? 'Cause I don't think it was Joe. It was like, um, I actually don't remember what his name was, but it wasn't. It was like
Jorge.
Jorge. Um, so I'm like, so this mother doesn't even remember this kid's name. Her own child. She doesn't know. Idiot number 756. Um, I'm gonna have to add that bitch to a list of people, idiots I've encountered in stupid movies. Um, but yeah, after this mother has basically yelled out her son, or an incorrect name for her son, he stands in the middle and in front of the cops, and the cops are like, "Oh, hold fire!" And the rhino's just standing like, "Oh, well, what do we have here? A Spider-Man impersonator," and he's like. And he just puts the mask on and is like, all right, let's go. And he's like, oh, I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to murder a kid. So he's getting ready. And then, we cut to the shots of like people like saying like, oh, and then you hear this web going off like, oh, is that who I think it is? And the cops are like, oh my God, no way. And then you hear them land, and he just goes, oh, hey, Spidey. And this shot was pretty cool, I can admit, where it's him, it's the kid. And there's like this panning shot of like behind him, and it goes like this, and then there's Peter just standing there, and he's like, I knew you'd come back, I knew it. And he's like, yeah, and it's kids like you that make me believe in hope.
Yeah.
Now go to your mother, be safe. I'll deal with him. And he's like, you got it, Spider-Man. And he runs off, and he goes over to like the cop cars, and he like stands on it, and grabs like the megaphone. It's like, hey, you sir, I don't want to hurt you, but don't be doing this, or else I'm gonna have to hurt you. And he goes, I like to see you try. He's like, all right, well, what else did I expect? And he just starts running, and he's like, and he's like starts like, shooting rockets and shit, and he grabs the manhole cover, and he's like starts deflecting missiles and
Yep.
shit. And I'm like, oh yes, yes. And then as he fucking hits him. Hard cut to black, and
That's it.
we see the Spider-Man logo. I'm like, no, 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 no. They did not just do that. And then it cuts to the end credits. Like, you motherfuckers, you assholes. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not that bad. I'll just wait for Amazing Spider-Man 3, and then, maybe they'll continue on with the Rhino. Oh, wait, there was no Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Nope.
Fucking Um, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Obviously we have the other stuff to go over. Um, and I mentioned this obviously last video, but did you know that Mary Jane Watson was actually supposed to be in the film? We have it was apparently Shailene Woodley was cast as Mary Jane Watson, and even filmed a couple scenes for the film. But her role was ultimately cut from the final film because the filmmakers felt that there was too many characters and wanted to streamline this particular series. Yeah, you already had way too many fucking characters in the first place, so I don't think adding one more would have helped you much. Or removing one would have helped you. So, I mean, admittedly, it's a shame that we did not get to see what this version of MJ would have been like. But I believe some of the deleted scenes is on the Blu-ray. I don't honestly know.
Interesting.
But it'd be very interesting to see what her version of Mary Jane Watson would have been like. And the second
Yeah.
fun fact I have is did you know that Emma Stone actually wrote out Gwen's graduation speech personally? And I'm like, well, damn, that's a very good fucking speech. And
Yeah.
it pops up, obviously at the graduation thing, and it pops up near the end when because I think Peter has like a thumb drive of it. And like, how the fuck did you get that? Like, as far as I know, they weren't pressing out thumb drives of Gwen's speech, or did he take that from the school when he went after Gwen's funeral? Like, I don't fucking know. Stupid movie shit. But yeah, um, and then um, so Matt, did you know that there were 6 composers for this film?
6.
6. So we have the main one, who was Hans Zimmer, and I'll be
Yeah.
honest, his score for this film is not good. Like, we always have the very good scores by Danny Elfman from 1 and 2, and then Christopher Young's
Yeah.
for 3, and then we had the pretty good score, I feel like, for Amazing Spider-Man by the late James Horner, and then you have this like droning ass like music that you would have heard from like a generic ass like superhero movie from like the mid 2010s, and it just sucks. And according to the back here,
Like the theme.
well, yeah, the theme, but then like the score. I mean, yeah, there's certain keys like certain cues in the film, like Electro's theme, which I thought was pretty nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
overall the score fucking sucks. Um, but yeah, I'm reading on the back here. It says music by Hans Zimmer and the Magnificent Six. That's what the fucking name was called for this shit. Your music was not magnificent, you fuckheads. Apparently it features Pharrell Williams and Johnny Marr. Like, where the fuck were they in this soundtrack? Because I didn't hear them. Like, I don't know if they I don't know if they composed like actual movie score or like pop songs that they just did throughout the entire movie. Um, but yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So yeah, let's start off with you, Matt. What are your final thoughts on the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
All right, my final thoughts on this film. I mean, if I would have to rate it, it would probably be like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think, because there is a major problems about this film, and I see why. And
I,
yeah,
I honestly don't understand how
day I
anyone
would.
like how I don't understand how anyone would not be able to notice the problems with this film. Like honestly.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if there's, I mean, like if somebody says that like this is like probably like their favorite film out of all the Spider-Man movies, I don't know.
How? Like
I don't even
how are you
know.
even a person?
Yeah, I mean, because I know that like I mean Zion. The only this movie, by the way, out of
Yeah.
all like the Spider-Man movies,
Yeah.
he only saw this one, which is
Yeah, our
surprising to us
yeah, our
still.
good friend Zion who I don't know, may appear on the channel at some point. We'll see. But yeah, he mentioned earlier today, during one of Matt's live streams that yeah, he's only the only Spider-Man movie that he has watched ever was this film. And I'm like, fuck,
Yeah, it was
bro,
that
I
one.
feel just so bad for you, man. Like,
I know.
fuck. Um, but yeah, like, it's a shame that like this is probably like one of the like the first like like one of the first glimpses that some people would have ever gotten of a live action Spider-Man, and it hurts just because it's so ass that I'm just like like for example like with Zion, I'm just like, bro, I'm sorry that this was your first Spider-Man movie that you watched. Like really like one was amazing, like one was good, two was like amazing, three was average at
Yeah,
like or no, it was pretty good in my opinion, but some people could differ, and
yeah.
uh Amazing Spider-Man was pretty average. Any of those would have been a better start than this piece of shit. Oh my god.
Thank God.
And I mean, yeah, just by me saying that, you guys already know that I hate this movie. It's a steaming pile of shit, and I I honestly cannot recommend this to anyone if you're a casual superhero watcher or a casual film fan in general. I cannot recommend this movie. If you are a diehard Spider-Man fan or a diehard Superman or superhero fan, you would have already seen this movie and you probably would have said it's shit. The only redeeming factors about this film that I can honestly give is, Gwen Stacy, being, pretty good as usual. Aunt May being, in my opinion, the best part about this movie overall. There's not one scene that I can think of that she is in that where she was bad. And then, Jamie Foxx as Max, like the Max persona, he was actually pretty good. But then when he turned into Electro, it just became forgettable. So with those things in mind, I'm gonna give this almost a D minus. If it wasn't for that, for those things I just mentioned, straight up F. It would have gotten an F, flat out. Um, but with those things in mind, I'm gonna have to give it a you know, a D minus because at least it has some good things about it that makes me want to go back and possibly rewatch it at some point. But it would not be anytime soon. I can fucking guarantee you that much. Um, yeah, I can only hope that the next few weeks can only be good from here on out. Because yeah, starting next week,
Yeah.
we're gonna be starting the Tom Holland series with Spider-Man: Homecoming, and from what I've heard, it's a pretty good start to the third and so at this point final live
Yeah.
action interpretation of Spider-Man. So I'm hoping that this could at least be a little bit better than this piece of shit. But anyway, guys, that's our review of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Hope you guys were happy to watch us suffer for over an hour and 20 minutes, man. Holy fuck. Uh,
Wow.
just this recording alone is over an hour and 21 minutes. But including the first clip and as well as all the editing I'm gonna have to do, this video could possibly be at least an
Jeez.
hour and a half. And if the audio is good and we don't have to re-record this, Matt, you have officially have the record of the longest video on the channel and longest review on the channel at possibly an hour and a half. Holy shit.
Wow.
And it just only sucks that it's on this fucking thing.
I
Ugh.
know. I know. Like out of all the movies, Well, like, I mean, I feel like if I was in the Toby's movies videos, it would have been way
Yeah,
than this probably.
it would have been long. But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and again, stay tuned for next week where we're going to be starting our Tom Holland look backs at starting off with Spider-Man: Homecoming. And as usual, follow me on my social media pages, my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those will be down in the description below. Also follow me on my Twitch page. I do some occasional live streaming every once in a while. I also have a letterbox page. That's where you guys kind of get you know, a first look at what I think about a movie that I'll be covering up next. For example, I gave this film a 1-star rating, and my review will be pretty fucking harsh about it. Um, but yeah, I also have a Throne page where you guys can donate gifts and that sort of stuff. It's not obviously mandatory, but if you guys want to support my channel with a little bit extra more and get your names shouted out at the the ends or at the end of my videos, that option is always out. And of course, go and check out Matt's channel. He does some great gaming content, on Mario games, Nintendo games in general, and stuff like that. So go and make sure to check out his channel. His channel will be in the title of this video and as well as the description. And like I said, I can only hope that the next few videos will be a bit better. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for next week's video on Spider-Man: Homecoming. Live long and prosper, out.